Hi guys, this is chapter 3. We're working with angles and we're going to just do a lot of review to get you guys ready for the test. So real quick, corresponding angles are in the same relation to the parallel lines and on the same side of the transversal. Okay, so these are our parallel lines. This is our transversal that cuts across. So a corresponding angle would be, let's say, above the parallel line and to the right of the transversal. So these two angles would be corresponding angles, and they are congruent, the same angle measure. Now let's talk about interior angles. Interior angles are the ones inside the parallel lines. Now, if they are on opposite sides of the parallel lines, or sorry, opposite sides of the transversal, we're going to call them alternate angles. Now, they're going to be interior angles because they are inside these parallel lines, so they're alternate interior angles. The next type of angle I want to talk to you about is alternate exterior angles. So, if we had lines, or if we were talking about the angles outside of the parallel lines and on opposite sides of the transversal, we would say they're alternate exterior angles. So, this angle measure and this angle measure are the same, they're congruent. Now, the final type of angle that I want to talk to you guys about is vertical angles. So, anytime you have two lines that come together, the, the angles that are opposite from each other, which would be this angle here and this angle here, are vertical angles, and they're congruent, just like this part here would be congruent to that angle there. Okay, so vertical angles are across from each other where two lines cross. Interior angles are inside the parallel lines. Exterior angles are outside the parallel lines. And alternate means they're on opposite sides of the transversal. Okay? So if I told you that this angle measure was, let's say it's 120, you could actually figure out all the other angle measures here because you would know this is 120 because it's a vertical angle. Then you would know that this is 120 because it is an alternate interior angle. You would also know this is 120 because it's a vertical angle. Now, the final thing is any angles on a straight line add up to 180. So we could solve for this angle here. We could say, oh, it's got to be 60 because I know 120 plus 60 equals 180. So then we would know this is 60 because it's a vertical angle. This is 60 because it's alternate interior angles. And this is 60 because it's a vertical angle. There you go. Now remember, this only works if you have parallel lines and a transversal. Okay, so if we're talking about triangles, we know the sum of the interior angles of any triangle equals 180. So we could set this equal to 180. We could say x plus 48 plus 32 equals 180. Then we're going to add this together, and that would be x plus 80 equals 180. So we would know x equals 100. Now I want to teach you about the exterior angle of a triangle. It's made by extending one of the sides of the triangle and drawing an angle where the other side of the triangle meets that extension. That's called your exterior angle. Now we know the sum of angles on a straight line is equal to 180, and the sum of the interior angles of a triangle is equal to 180. So if we know this angle plus something else equals 180, we would know that these two angles added together would equal this exterior angle, right? Remember, we cut these off in class and we shifted them over here and put them there together. And we saw that the sum of the angles of a triangle equals 180. So you can solve, if you know the exterior angle, you can figure out what these two angles are, right? So if we know what these are, let's say they're 36 and 72, we could add them together and find this exterior angle is equal to 108 degrees. Okay, now we're going to solve for the interior angles of a polygon. And there's two different ways to do it. You pick a point on here and then you draw straight lines to create as many triangles originating at that point as possible. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles. So we have n equals 6 sides, and we made 4 triangles. Well, we know the sum of the interior angles of a triangle equals 180. So we could take 4 times 180 to solve for the sum of the interior angles of this six-sided polygon, and that would be 720. Now, there's also a way to solve this because you'll notice when you draw these triangles that you can always draw two fewer triangles than the number of sides you have. So you could say n minus 2 times 180 equals the total degrees of your polygon and solve that for any sided figure. So if you had a 20-sided figure, you could solve this by multiplying it all together like that. So if you took 18 times 180, you would solve for the sum of the interior angles of a polygon. All right. Now, I want to tell you, if you have a regular polygon, that means that all the angles are the same, all the sides are the same length. So if you took this total sum and divided it equally by the number of sides, you could figure out the degrees in each angle there. So we've talked about the interior angles of the polygon, but I want to talk to you about what the exterior angles are. So going around in a circle, I've extended these sides, as you see right here. And if we were to look at these angles for any polygon, these angles right here, made from extending those sides, those are called exterior angles. The sum of exterior angles for any polygon is equal to 360. Okay? Okay, so when we talk about similar triangles, they're going to have the same angle measures. So if you know that two triangles have two of the same angle measures, you're going to know they're similar because the third angle measure would have to be equal, right? That would have to equal that. Okay, so they can be different sizes. So let's say this is 2, this side here is 2, and this side here is 3. And we know this side is 1.5. We could figure out what this side is by setting up a proportion. So we're going to set up a proportion of the long sides here, 2 over 3, to the short sides right here. So we have 1.5 over x. And when you have a proportion, then you are going to cross multiply and set it equal. So we would say 2x equals 3 times 1.5. Okay, then we're going to solve that and we would say, all right, this is going to be 4.5 equals 2x. Then we divide both sides by 2 and we would finally find that x equals 2.25. We put that in here and say, does that make sense? Yep, that would make sense. So remember, set up your proportion, cross multiply, and then solve the equation to find the missing length of a similar triangle.